Good morning, everybody. Hello, Shelley. Hello, Wendy. Hello, others. So we're going to get started this morning with find and win buyers. Just before we do, though, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. And one of the things I want to ask the group here in the classroom as well as online is, over the next 2 minutes before we get going, is there anything exciting that you would like to share that's happened to you in real estate since you've taken the Ignite course? Anything in particular that's come up? Just a little tiny aha moment, or don't all speak at once. Yes? 1 second here, folks. Tanya wants to say something.
Getting clients is the number one thing, and we all fear that, and yes, we have to get over that. You know.
You're so right, Tanya. It is a fear, but the reality is getting clients is really just being yourself and enjoying people wherever you're at too. Yes. So, anybody want to share any text message on something online? Thank you, Wendy. Wendy said, well said. So we're going to move on. Our next piece of agenda that I would like you to have is dig out your aha sheet or your notebook that you're using for your aha moments. Obviously, you want to put that in front of you because as we go through this, you are going to get some nuggets, some aha moments, and you'll be able to implement those in your business. Just 1 second. We're having some technical difficulties. Good morning, Troy. So perhaps, Lynn, because I'm a walker when I teach and talk, that perhaps you can let me know if somebody's saying something behind me. Awesome. So just to review, everybody dig out their aha sheet so then put it beside them so they can write down their nuggets that they learn, or get out your notebook that you're using for your aha so you can implement these in your business. We're just going to pass out some sheets here for the course. Everybody has their find and win buyers. So the next step before we get into the actual teaching and talking of today is going to be a very interactive time today. It's going to be some fun. We're going to act like clowns, but we're going to learn. So tell me a little bit about your 10-4. What's been going on with your 10-4? People online, people in the classroom. How's it working for you with your 10 contacts? Tell me a little bit more. What's your success been in the last couple of days? And you know what? If it's 12 that you've done or it's 8 that you've done, just keep in mind, whatever you've done is something. So I'm waiting to listen. Anybody in the classroom? You're going to have to help me out on the 10-4 because, as you all know, I haven't been in the class very much due to other reasons. Would have loved to have been here. Lynn, you going to share on your 10-4? Okay. Does everybody know what their 10-4 is? Okay. In their 10-4, have you talked to somebody? I'm going to be crazy. Have you talked to somebody in the grocery store? You know, come out of the formal thinking and think about your lives and the things that you do each day, right? So we're going to move on based on the 10-4. So are we ready? Now, the nice thing about being not in the classroom for this is I'm not going to hear you say this, but I would like to see you write it, okay? It's a very short thing. Don't be a secret agent. You don't hear me? Oh, yes, I get you. Yes, absolutely, Shelley. Thank you. I'm going to take another drink of coffee here. So for the people online, I would like you to type this. For the people in the room, I would like you to say it out loud. Say after me. One second, please. Say after me. I easily find motivated buyers.
I easily find motivated buyers.
One more time, that's a little bit more convincing.
I easily find motivated buyers.
Awesome. Awesome. Welcome, Ann. Ann's come to audit. I'll just shut the door here. So what I'd like to do next before we actually get into finding and winning buyers is I want to talk about finding and winning buyers. So Lynn, if I could ask you to take some notes on the board. As you can see, we got the video on this morning. We got the paper ready. And here's the marker. So my next question for you is write down ways that you can meet buyers. So I'm going to give you a real easy one, and then I'm going to give you a couple of that I have at the end that I have thought of, and if nobody else thinks of them. But, you know, obviously an open house is a way of meeting buyers, but let's expand in our mind about the day-to-day ways of meeting people and how you can enjoy them and meet them. So in the classroom, by all means, just give me ideas. Inside on the streaming side of things here, please type in your ideas. We'll write them down and we'll acknowledge them. So the drum roll, let's go. Car accidents. Absolutely. Since Lynn said that, my very first client was a car accident, and it was their fault, and I made them feel like it was my fault. And you build a relationship, and the next thing you know, they're calling to buy a house. Grocery store. That's awesome, Wendy. Absolutely. Shelley, sign calls. Troy. One second, please.
Parties.
Awesome. Parties. Okay, that's great too.
Social functions.
Social functions. Mortgage brokers. Shelley just said referrals from PCs, COLs, and etc. COI, sorry. My glasses on, I'll be all right. Restaurants. That's great, Wendy. I'm going to expand on restaurants too. I'm going to throw one in here is services. Anything that you go to a service, a restaurant, dry cleaners, a police officer. I kid you not, I was pulled over for a routine check 2 weekends ago. The man was doing his job and I did my job. He was just talking to me about safety inspections, which I wasn't concerned because my vehicle's relatively new. And he was pulling everybody over for that reason. When he was finished and I discerned what type of personality he had, I said, I'm just doing my job. You want to buy a house? Guess what? He wants to buy a house. So, you know, really come out of, in my opinion, we need to come out of our box. We need to play with the things that are normally in the box, like mortgage brokers and open houses, but we also have to think just in our everyday social life. So can everybody see what's on the board? Yes, Taylor, that's great. Social media. Another idea I'll throw in there is we have habits. Most people have this habit that I have. Every morning I go to a certain coffee shop to get a certain cup of coffee. And every morning when you go, you obviously meet people because it's over time, you see people that are coming in and coming in. You say hello to them because you've seen them more than once or twice. The next thing you know, after the third or fourth time you've met with them and see them in the lineup or whatever the case may be, pass them a business card. You might be surprised. And
another one that I'm bad at doing, but I know I should be doing, is there's lots of people that I give business to that I haven't asked for business from, such as dentists and hygienists and people and all of the people that you see and you bring business, and you happily send your friends and family to them when they say, who do you know? But most of us have never asked those people either. Your pharmacist, your everyday people that you.
that's awesome. That's really good, Ann. Thank you for sharing that because that exactly is what it's at. When you pay a bill anywhere, pass your business card. It's an opportunity to do that, and thank you, Ann. Which one's that? When you pay a bill, pass a card. Walking the dog, absolutely. You're going to have trends where you're going to see certain people. You know, you're not necessarily going to go walking down the sidewalk and pass your business card out every time, but when opportunities arise, just be aware of them because as realtors, really, we're always working. I'll give you another example, and I'm really not trying to boast. I'm just trying to share my experiences. I've been away on several occasions and gotten business. For example, just 3-4 weeks ago, I'm laying on the beach talking to Newfoundlanders. Next thing you know, I make sure at the end of the conversation, or what I think is the end at the time, I let them know I'm in real estate. Well, Ron Birmingham is now getting a referral because I was laying on the beach in Puerto Plata, having a great time and enjoying people, because that's really what we do is enjoy people, outside of the forms, of course. Absolutely. Part-time jobs. So is there anything else that anybody wants to put down here before we talk about this for a minute and move on? Yeah, absolutely. Existing clients. We're going to get into existing clients actually as we go through this. There's some stats from NAR, and you're going to find that quite interesting, I think. Volunteering. Being part of boards. Things that you care about.
Social groups, yeah. Different than social settings. Curling club, whatever. This is what belong to. Going to specific.
Hi, Troy. One sec, Troy.
So I'd say gas station. I got a girl I didn't even
I just used to talk to her where I got my gas. She apologized when he listed her house. She goes, I know you're in real estate. I didn't even know she listed her house. She said, I'd known this guy for years, over 20 years, so I had to list with him, but I just want to apologize. I wouldn't have never known. So I take it that if she didn't know him, she probably would have asked me.
That's very good. Thanks, Troy. And services, exactly. And it's opening your mind to certain circumstances that you're around each day. Before we get into the actual meat and potatoes, excuse the expression, of this outline course, I have a question that's not in the course. When are we working? It's not a trick question. When are we working? Like, when are we working? What I mean by that is when we're out, even when we've booked time off to do something with a friend or a spouse, we're always working. And that doesn't mean we can't enjoy ourselves, but it is a little tip on the fact that people are watching. I had somebody come up to me this weekend. I was away with my wife. We had an awesome time at a marriage retreat with 300 people. And this lady and her husband come up to me and said, "Is your name Sean Watt?" I never knew them in my life. But she had the personality of curiosity. She wanted to know if I was the person that was on the signs. So my point is when we're out in the marketplace, we may not know the persons beside us. They know us. Just a thought. So, did everybody enjoy that list that we've written down? The thing I'd like to also add to that is, if you're interested, send me an email. I have about 150 triggers to networking and finding people that you can work with and build friendships with. If you want that document, I'll gladly send it to you. Yes, I can do that. Yeah. I'm just going to mention that to you. Okay. So we're going to go to page 11. Everybody there? So in page 11, I'm going to read something to you because I made some adjustments on it, and I just want to see how people think and create ideas. Working with buyers can be fun and exciting. Touring houses and helping them find the next dream home. The process of working with buyers can be refined to these 3 steps. Where it says fun and exciting, I also put in the word privilege. It is a privilege to have a client because you choose them, but they also choose you. So finding buyers. The next thing I want to talk about is NAR 2014 profile of home buyers and sellers stats. NAR being North American, National Association of Realtors. When you think of North America versus Nova Scotia, 88% of buyers use a real estate agent. I would guess that stat's a little higher in Nova Scotia. I don't know that, but that's my guess. So if 88% of buyers are using realtors, 40% of them, those buyers, found their agents through referrals from friends and family. So my question is, in that 40%, are we talking to, communicating effectively, have systems effectively with friends and family? Myself, to disclose, I was terrible with keeping in touch with my family. %12 of buyers use an agent that they used in the past. So if 40% are from friends and family, and we're only getting 12% of second repeat purchases, to me, the thing that we might be doing wrong is staying in touch. So if we stay in touch, we can come back to this list of a lot of things that's on it of ways of meeting people through relationship. So my recommendation obviously is in that 12% bracket, we have a lot of opportunity to keep the clients that we currently have by staying in touch. 9% of buyers found an agent visiting an open house. So when we think about our marketing plan and how much money we're going to spend, it's somewhat inexpensive to have an open house. And there's different ways to do an open house. We have some systems that we could certainly share with you if you wanted them. And as Ann recommended, we'll do that through an email. But 9% of those buyers are found in open houses. So I think it's kind of important to have open houses and do them well. Would you agree? Wendy, yes, I will. Please send that. Any thoughts on that?
Hi. I know that my biggest error in how I've managed my business is not being consistent enough in following up with past clients. There's nothing worse once you get to a certain stage in your business when you see someone's house you sold go up with someone else. And anybody who says it's never happened to them is lying, because it has.
Absolutely.
So it's the business is right there, and we're letting it go.
We are letting it go.
We're letting it go. We're giving it away, because we're not only losing them, but we're losing their referral at the same time. And it's always easier to work with someone who already knows you than to have to go sell yourself all over again. But yet we forget, and we go running and chasing the shiny penny.
Shiny penny. We're all guilty of it.
Instead of the one we've already got. And I'm guilty of it, 100%.
Any thoughts, group? While you're thinking, I'm going to share something with you. The car accident, back to the sheets, the board. I'm going to compliment myself, and then I'm going to degrade myself, and then I'm going to forgive myself. Okay? So, the car accident, they ran into me on the bridge. They were on their way to get their engagement rings. Great opportunity to meet buyers, don't you think? I would have rather done it a little different way, but you know, great opportunity. They're getting married. They're going to need a house. But that car accident, here's my compliment to myself. I had the right attitude when I met the people. Things happen. What I did wrong after they were really happy with me and had their new home, this is my very first client 10 years ago. What I did wrong is I didn't stay in touch. And every once in a while I said, oh, I got to do that. I got to get back to them. And it was months, years later, right? And then how do I do it? An apology letter just doesn't sound like it's going to work, right? Guess what? They sold their house this year. And I can honestly say two things. Sean Watt or the SWAT team name was not on the sign. And you know, it's my own fault. What we do have to do, though, is forgive ourselves, not beat ourselves up, learn for those things, and move on. And implement great habits. Because sometimes when we make mistakes, it's the best opportunity that can happen. Anybody got to share on what we just talked about, Asnara, and your experiences? Then you got to keep an eye for me, will you? Because my back is turned to these wonderful people online. One second, Tanya's going to speak.
I think for people starting out, the biggest thing is probably to keep in touch is probably fear, okay, or you're embarrassed or something, and also knowledge. You don't have the knowledge to stay in touch, like whether it's market knowledge or, you know what I'm getting at?
Yes, I do.
So I found for me, that's my biggest things. Those are the biggest things.
That's a good point, Tanya, and I'd like to add to that. You know, one thing we all know how to do, or I think we do, is smile and enjoy people. The most powerful thing you can do anywhere you meet somebody is enjoy them. And you're taught in real estate school, disclose, disclose, disclose. But we think about the forms and the material latent defects. Disclose that you don't know the answer. I know that Ann and I, because we've talked, have disclosed things like, we don't know the answer to that. But you know what? We'll find out. And you're never going to know all the answers. So the best thing to do is deal with that, enjoy the people, and say, you know what, let's find out together. Any thoughts on that online? There's a lot of opportunities to stay in touch. You have their birthdays, their anniversary dates, to closing Christmas, and every holiday in between. Absolutely right. On that note, I'm just going to say something that's coming to my mind. Why do we keep a database? Most people sometimes would stay in touch, or that, you know, you can make business and generate revenue. And that's all true. But, you know, when you can have a database and the person's birthday's in it, or anniversary, or whatever that special occasion is, and it comes up on your phone to let you know, because we can't think of everything, then you get the privilege and to call them up and say, happy birthday. Don't talk real estate. It's about them. It's about them, but it's also about you, because by having the privilege of wishing them happy birthday and meaning it, and living in that environment, or I look forward to seeing you again over a coffee sometime, whatever it is, no real estate, when you get off the phone, they feel great, you feel awesome. So just a little thought. Thank you, Shelley. Moving on. By the way, folks, I haven't taught in a while, in case you haven't noticed, so let's just have some fun. Hi, Troy.
Not to worry, as time goes on, they're going to start inviting you to their birthday parties.
Yes.
You're gonna go.
You're going to go. And you're going to behave yourself,
Listen.
Troy.
And you're gonna pass out a business card or two.
No. I don't like going to the mall. I don't not even like we're near as busy as some of these people.
Oops, sorry.
I don't want to go to the mall. Get a life.
Well, your point is absolutely well taken. The thing about that, though, is it's better to be invited than not invited. If you're invited, you have the opportunity to go or manage it or send some little thing. It gives you the opportunity to think about, what can I send that's special to somebody that's male or female, that's not going to cost me a lot of money, but it's going to make them feel good. I'm going to feel good about it, and there's a return on the investment probably too. But no, you can't go to every birthday. Is that helpful?
Well, I don't know what you send. I mean, to me, if you just send something, show up, it says.
No, you're sending and you're having a conversation beforehand. You do manage it. They got to hear a live voice on a text, you know, things like that. That's absolutely. But you create a system to appropriately deal with that, because you can't make everything. You know, there's other things in your life besides business too, right? So, but you do figure out a way. If you're being invited all the time, you do have to figure out a way to deal with that in a proper way that people would feel good, but you also have to celebrate the fact that you are actually being asked. Because I have been 10 years, I guess I'm not liked very much. I have never been invited to a birthday party.
Wine always works.
Yeah, exactly. Ann just said wine always works. And a phone call.
You just remember they can't hear you. Oh. They're not.
Yes, Shelley, perfect opportunity to meet more people, no question at all. Just bear with me here till I go to the next page, and I'll tell you what it is. Page 14. What always works? Oh, we just hit a bomb. No, it wasn't. It was a bottle of water fall over. We're good. Really? Yeah, but I thought he...
You have to pass it.
Okay, so did you want to say something?
Wendy wants an answer, which is why.
Oh, sorry. Wendy, the answer was, to phone them, contact them, say, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. I have a family function I have to attend, but you know what? I want to send you off a bottle of wine, and please enjoy your day. Or create a system of your own, give it some thought about, put yourself in that thought. If you're inviting somebody and they can't make it, just think about it that way. Page 14, everybody. This is a little bit of homework. I want you to review page 14, which says do your market research. What's available in my price range? I don't think I can afford to buy a house. I'm thinking about waiting until next year. Can you help me find an investment property? I can afford up to $1,500. So we're going to do one of those. Yeah, sorry, my mistake, folks. So we're going to watch the video called Find the Motivated. How do we get rid of this end?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need I'll sign that contract and then you and now it's your goal to get a referral. Car at the closing, use today. If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find them motivated and have a great day.
So how many people actually heard that online, that 2-minute video? We may have to watch it again.
They may have there's no reason it's not sharing.
Okay.
Sure. You know, it's going stereo system back at the top. So it should go as long as
It's back on. I did turn it off thinking it would be a distraction.
Let's try one more time.
So we're going to watch it one more time. Can you hear, folks?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pollack, and I'd like to share tips on how to find the motivated. What do I
Awesome.
mean by find the motivated? Turning a warm lead into a closed client. The first tip is when you find someone, you want to ask for the business. Let's say you're at a party and your friend is pregnant. You can always say, hey, it looks like you need a bigger house. Or you're out and about and you see this big, beautiful diamond ring and not the full wedding ring. You can say, hey, it looks like you just got engaged. Congratulations. When are you buying your next house? And then I always ask, when are you ready to buy? When are you looking to move into your new house? What are those underlying tips of motivation that will tip you off to having a client that's ready to do business now versus a year from now? Tip number 2, ask for the appointment. Have a calendar or your smartphone ready to say, I have availability tomorrow at 2 or the next day at 4. Which one would work for you? Book the appointment when you meet someone who's ready to do business. Tip number 3, so now you've got the appointment, you want to pre-qualify that appointment by using scripts. Ask questions such as, have you met with the lender that I referred you to the other day? To make sure that they have their price range in mind when they're meeting with you to buy a home, and that you know they're able to sell a home or that they're motivated by a desire to have another outcome, like maybe they're relocating or they're downsizing their home. There has to be some motivation level to continue forward with the appointment. Tip number 4, use embedded command. When you get in front of the people face-to-face at your appointment, you want to be talking embedded command language, such as, when you're comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, then we'll sign the contract tonight. If you're using that language throughout your hour or half an hour appointment, they'll be more comfortable when they get to the end, and they'll sign that contract, and then you can move forward. The last step is you sign them up, and now it's your goal to get a referral. When you're in conversation with them, on the phone, in the car, at the closing, use questions. Who else do you know that's looking to buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I can call today? If you keep saying this throughout the process, you'll find yourself turning more of your current clients into referral business that will generate lots of easy sales for you. So go out there and find the motivated and have a great day.
Well, we're back, folks. So after watching that video, may I suggest you take a few seconds just to write down a thought that you got from that video. If you received one, some will, some won't. Take a moment so that when you walk out of the classroom environment that you can actually put that into your business. Sorry. That'd be awesome. Thank you, Ann. You're such a team player. So back onto page 14. I'm going to start again. As I suggested, I'd really like you to make a note on those, to go over them in your private time of researching for your business, but we're going to do one of them. one of the questions here is I think I'm about waiting about next year before I buy. So I think about waiting until next year. So if a buyer says that to you, what are some of the thoughts that you're going to say to that buyer? Anything come to mind in any particular person, online or offline? Troy.
Great. I just want to confirm your contact information so I can get in touch with you so that we're both ready when that time comes.
Anne.
Can I ask why you're waiting until next year?
Awesome.
Because I want to find out what the objection is, because then I can handle it.
Well, I was thinking, Anne, that I would wait till next year because of the fact that, for the house we want, I don't quite have the down payment that I need.
Have you spoken with a lender that's able to assist you with your down payment and closing costs?
I've just spoke to the branch that I currently work with.
I would really love to be able to help you with other options. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a ton of financial options to help put those two pieces together that could actually get you into a home now.
Awesome. Can you do that for me? That would be great. Thank you, Anne. She is a peach, is she not? There, I can see them now. Another thought that I've had just on that conversation with Anne is we're all at different places in our real estate career, and I'm still getting to know everybody. So I'm going to make a suggestion to you just in case somebody out on the line doesn't realize this. The word mortgage is like the word automobile, which you don't go to say to somebody, I just bought an automobile. You say to them, I just bought a Ram, or I just bought an Audi A6. You get right into the details. My point for saying that is when you have great conversations back and forth and listen to what your buyer is sharing with you throughout your process, you'll find out that they may need a different type of mortgage or product within a mortgage. For example, if I buy a home, I do stated income. So, and also with doing stated income, there's only certain banks will do stated income. So you really do fine tune for the client. So thanks, Anne. Any other questions or thoughts on I'm thinking about waiting until next year? One more. Let's do one more. I don't think I can afford to buy a house. Any thoughts? Oh, Anne's being a team player. She's picking on people. Oh, Troy's coming to the bat to help her. But she doesn't need the help. Here she is.
We have a fabulous broker that can help you out with that.
Yes, we do. Troy, did you have a thought?
Well, I was just something along the lines of what Ann said. It's like, have you talked to a mortgage broker to find out exactly what you're able to afford?
Exactly. Not only when you can refer your own mortgage broker, you're really giving them, in some ways, a better service because the people that you work with, you know their professionalism, you know their knowledge, and you can do all the great service you want. If somebody within your alliance isn't doing a great service or they're not in your alliance, then you may have some challenges. So just a thought. Hi, Wendy. What bank do you deal with? I have some amazing mortgage brokers. Yes. And then expand why too. I mean, just a thought is, why are they amazing? It's sort of like the word training. Oh, I'm getting trained. Well, what's so great about the training? Anne's got her pen up.
I think the point of the questions is, honestly, all of you guys are going to be great at answering them. It's just making sure you actually ask the follow-up question, which is the point, versus, oh, okay. Like, oh, okay is the one answer you're not allowed to say.
Absolutely.
You can say pretty darn near anything else as long as it's in the form of a question. And the conversation will naturally flow from there. But oh, okay is not one of them.
And you know, it's how you deal with things. You know, it's disclosure. Like if you're recommending a building inspector, you can disclose that you're not making any remuneration on it. If you have some form of lead generation through your mortgage broker, well, disclose that. but also tell them that you just want them to have the best product. And from there, evaluate your resources and evaluate ours and pick what's best for you. Moving on, we're going to go to page 16. So let's, everybody comfortable with reading, or are you going to make me read it all? Going, going, gone. Lynn, can you read list price number 1? Pardon me? Oh, thank you, Ann. God love you, Ann. I was sitting on the job again. Go ahead, Ann.
List price to sale price ratios can help buyers decide what to offer on a home, and they help you educate your buyers on how much they can reasonably expect to negotiate with the sellers on price.
Awesome, because as we know, there's different negotiations for circumstances, but there's also different negotiations and ranges of price and selling based on community. Troy, if you could read 2.
Sure. The average days on market in different price ranges. Buyers are generally interested in how long a home has been on the market. This will help them with offers and negotiations.
Average days on the market is a great conversation to have with your buyers, not only that you can elaborate, it went on the market here, it's sold, in 3 days, this one we have on the market, it's been on a while. Do you really like this home? Because, it trends to take this many days versus the other communities. So you disclose thoughts for the future when they go to sell, so you're building credibility. Number 3, please, Tanya.
You need to be aware of trends and have an overall picture of what is going on in terms of listing inventory across the price bands of your market. This can help buyers understand how quickly they need to act.
Thank you. And 4 is price trends, Ann. Sorry? Can they do that? Oh, thank you, Ann. Ann just helped me out a little bit here, folks. Who wants to read number 4 online? I'd love to have some interaction on that side. Put your mic on. Go for it. Number 4. Price trends. Now, not all at once. I mean, I can't even see you read. Shelley, you're on. You can thank me later.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Use local home values for the last 5 to 10 years to show how prices have fallen or risen over the last 10 years, and let your buyers know whether it is a buyer's or a seller's market. Price trends will drive how buyers and sellers behave in the market. Check your MLS, talk with your team leader, and mastermind with other agents to keep your finger on the pulse of market trends.
Thank you, Shelley. This number 4 is an excellent opportunity in your relationship as a realtor and a business person. They're choosing you at the start because of referral, because they have a good feeling about you. You smile and you connect with them. But when you get into the price trends and you start sharing that information and that stats, that makes you really stand out of what's going on in that marketplace. Now, what do you think we're in right now as far as a market? And I'm going to ask somebody online to answer that question, just because now I know you can talk to me. It's so exciting. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Wendy? Agree?
I think we have to be very careful, though, in stating that it's a buyer's market, because there are still pocket areas within HRM that are very strong for sellers. So I think it's very important that you know each different area what it is.
Thank you, Shelley. I really, really agree with that. It is overall a buyer's market. But saying that, there is communities that are selling based on demand. There's always going to be supply and demand in certain areas. The other thing is, according to our own realtor stats and Canadian Mortgage and Housing, we are in a buyer's heading for balanced. We're very close to balance. So at the end of the day, you know, there's opportunity. It's how you deliver that to the buyer, right, for the community that they're looking in. Any questions on that? Thanks, Shelley. Next page we're going to go to is page 18. Just so you know, in about 5 minutes we're going to take a break. So on page 18, I've made a note here on that I would really like you to pick the area that you're working in the most. Some people are hunters, some people are farmers, but you know, at the end of the day, even as a hunter, you find yourself in an area more so than the rest. And look at those local markets used: average sale price, average days on the market, list price to sale price, total number of listings. Because, you know, wherever your community is, where you're in networking the most, whether it's a network event, whether it's church, there's places that people know that you're a realtor and they're just going to ask you what's going on. And it would be really good for you to take that little time to get some good solid information. I made a little note: study your farm area, know your competitors as well. When you're doing a listing presentation, it's great to have your own package design and put a lot of thought in it, how you want to deliver it. Maybe you actually have a package that tells about you as a person, as a realtor, as a family, and your stats that you courier out to the seller prior to even meeting with them. But also know your competitors. And the reason you should know your competitors as best you can, and the only way you can get to know them, and I'm not talking about just knowing them and their name and meeting them. I'm talking about their trends. How do they market a property? What makes you different? We all use MLS, so what's different about you versus the other person that you're competing with? And obviously you want to bring that out to the you know, the buyers or the sellers, because the buyers are considering other realtors as well, possibly. So you certainly don't want to be bringing up another realtor and comparing yourself to it, but you certainly want to make a line mention. And one of those things right off the top of my head literally could be at your open house, making sure that they have your app. We can capitalize on that right now. That app that KW has, as far as I know, we're the only one that has it, but I'm not 100% on that. But I have been asking around. Roll a Page doesn't have anything. So use the app, because rest assured, somebody will have one soon.
It's probably the only personalized if they're on IDX there.
Tanny's got a statement here.
I've had friends in the car with me, and then we're looking for, I said, well, how much is that property going for? So I said, oh, I've got an app that is there, and it's not there.
Do you have your app installed?
Yeah.
Have that reviewed, Tanny, because I haven't had that problem. But have it reviewed.
Check with Aaron. It should run more or less.
Mine doesn't work properly either.
Should check.
I mean, I was up
1 second.
I was up in New Brunswick, and there were people who wanted to buy, and so I'm like, let me do it on my app, and it didn't bring up properties, so they just went to realtor.ca. They said, oh no, and just moved on. You know.
Anne was just saying it is IDX fed.
So if someone's not operating with IDX, then we're not.
If somebody's not cooperating with IDX, we're not going to have that information, as Anne just said. Actually, that's a good question that I don't know, DDF. I just realized that you guys aren't hearing what Anne's saying, so I get to get her to say it again, please.
I know. I could have them arse backwards, but you know, it's one of them. I'm pretty sure it's DDF. Is the data feed? That's the that's where we send out to third parties, like to Point2 and to various other third places that you've signed up for. And IDX is signing up as a brokerage to share our listings with other brokerages that have cooperated in that system. The ratio is, I think it's about 85%. All the big guys are in it, but there could be the odd small agent who's not, because some people don't understand the concept that if someone else shows my listing and sells it, my seller still wins. So anyway, that's a different conversation. But there are some brokerages that have not participated, so it could be a one-off. And in that case, if you're looking for something, I have the Realtor.ca app on my phone as well. And I would just, honestly, I would just blame it on the technology or that particular listing if I was in that situation, because everything else is there.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead.
I use my app all the time when I'm traveling, and all you have to do is go to advanced search and bring up the province or the area that you're in. I've never had an issue in New Brunswick or Ontario, but I do have to go to advanced search and change the province.
Yeah, I think the people that are having challenges should connect with Aaron or Kevin, because I do know that when you first install it, if you don't do it using the particular code thing through the back of KW, whatever, like if you just download it yourself, it doesn't work. So,
okay.
Kevin Fudge. Yeah, so I would just, honestly, I would just message him and ask him to walk you through it, or to next time he's in, because, or Erin might be able to fix it. I'm not sure what her comfort level is with the app, but it's more likely that it's not installed properly than it doesn't work for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's working for everybody.
So if ours isn't working.
1 second, please. This is Lynn.
So if ours isn't working and we send it to a client, is theirs going to work, or is it not going to work?
I'm not a tech person.
So we need to ask him.
So I'm going to shut this little conversation down, only because it's a great conversation, but it's a fair amount of time. So the best way to deal with it, again, is Aaron and Kevin. Come see myself, and I'll help you if I can. But I can tell you that I think this app is absolutely amazing in the sense of touches. We talk about touches. Well, your past, present, and future people that you meet. So all the people you've sold to should have this app on their smartphone, because the majority of people do have smartphones today, I believe. The second thing is when you're in an open house, you're desperately, and I'm using that word on purpose, looking to build credibility, and there's only so many forms and pictures and reference things that you can give, but obviously by helping them find their open houses. Christine and I are considering possibly selling next year. What did I do 2 weeks ago? Went out and got in the truck, said we want to live in this community or that community, hit the open house and went yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. No work at all. You're driving by a side street, you see in your peripheral vision a house that you really like. You don't have to turn around. You already got the vision of the house in your mind. Just go to nearby properties, bing, there it is, contact the agent. It's a great unit, and I suggest everyone to have it and send it out to your sphere of influence. Any questions? Well, it's 10:08. We're going to take 10 minutes for a break. If you have any questions, by all means, send me a little message on the text and I'll answer it. But see you in 10 minutes. It is now presently 10:08. We'll see you at 10:20. Welcome back. Are we all here? It's me, Mr. Carter, for anyone that knows that. You know, my age is a little older than some. And just for the record, I'm realizing that I'm talking into the transmitter instead of the microphone, but it's working. So, we're going to go back to, we're going to start at page 19. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, but on page 19 it says qualify and schedule your buyers for the consultation. Well, in the next few pages, there's a lot of information on how to do that. But what I would like to share to the group is it's great to be able to do it. What's better is to actually get the client to do it with. So you're at an open house, you're in an environment of any sort, could be meeting somebody happily at the grocery store that you haven't run into in a while, or they could be a stranger that you met at the grocery store, because I don't know about you, but it has happened to me. And I found out that I'm not odd because it happens to Jerry too. So one of the things I want to recommend is in qualifying your actual buyers. We're Maritimers for the most part. And if we're not Maritimers, we adapt to becoming Maritimers because we see the friendliness of who we are, or even if you're not a Maritimer, a lot of people, you know, for the most part, are friendly. So the way I empower an appointment is, you know, you're making an investment in them, they're making an investment in you, you're enjoying the process, and at the end of the day, after you get the hug, they're happy and you're getting paid. So to get that process, what I recommend you do is take them to breakfast. Breakfast doesn't work, take them to lunch. Get the people that are making the decision, husband and wife, whatever the case may be, and take them out for breakfast. So what if it costs you $40 or $50? It's an environment where you can go over your information that you want to get into, which we're going to be talking about next, which is like your buyer lead sheet, information that you want on it. It's an opportunity to sit down in a casual environment. Now, you're not always going to be able to do that. I believe most of the time you can, but there is the odd person. If they're very, 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 I'm going to use the word professional in the sense of maybe, not sorry to pick on accountants, but very, very analytical people, they may really want just to meet at your office. But it's up to us to figure out who you're working with right away. For example, when I gave my business card to that police officer, and he's going to buy a house from me, I can rest assure you, if I didn't discern the personality that I was dealing with, I wouldn't have given the card. He was a D, and he had personality, and he cared about people, and you could see it. And he lived by protecting and serving. And that's really one of the things realtors do, protect and serve. So my recommendation on qualifying scheduled buyers is right off the bat, in order to get the appointment, take them to breakfast. Moving over to page 20, NAR fact. Like when I read this over the weekend, this little stat, you know, really spoke to me. According to the 2014 National Association of Realtors profile of home buyers and sellers, 2 out of 3 of all buyers interviewed only one agent. They only interviewed one agent. I think that's probably even more higher with buyers. You know, sellers, there is certainly that happening more, I believe, anyway. So, Troy, can you read number 1, qualifying? Oh, sorry, folks. I was getting into a habit of bringing the mic around. Here you go, Troy.
All right, thanks. Yeah, use the buyer lead sheet on the next few pages and available in your Ignite toolkit to guide you through the buyer qualification. Buyer lead sheet will help you uncover if the buyer is able, ready, and willing to purchase a home. Establish control of the conversation when the buyer calls for asking questions about price, motivation, location, wants and needs, timeline, finances, and availability.
Thank you. So let's go to our toolkit for a second, or wherever your buyer lead sheet is. And in that buyer lead sheet, it's 2 pages, page 21 and page 22, but you also have it in your toolkit. You know, there's information on this, obviously, that's guiding and directing the appointment that you're conducting with the people you're having. You know, you're having a conversation, you're doing some smiles and interaction, but you're also finding out information besides just their phone number and their email. You're getting to find out things about the properties they're looking for, how many children they have. You can expand on, you know, what's their children's names. It's a guide to building that relationship and collecting the professional information that you need. So on that buyer's lead sheet, I highly recommend that you review it, get to know it. You may want to polish it up in a style that you use, but at the end of the day, when you can sit down with a buyer and have a very good conversation that could be scripted, that doesn't come across scripted in some ways, that's great. So please read over 21 and 22 and implement that in your business. So we talked about earlier on page 23, we talked about why we have a database, and you know, there was different thoughts from managing clients, from the privilege of talking to people when it's their birthday and giving them enjoyment, which there's always a ripple effect on everything we do. So when you go into this on page 23, you can see A buyers, B buyers, and C buyers. Most of us in the room and in the online are already aware of A, B, and C buyers, but at the same time, review it, think about it, see if there's something you can fine-tune within your business to add value on that. The next page we're going to go into is page 25, getting the appointment. Lynn, can you read that?
This here.
Yeah, page 25.
Yeah. Now that you have qualified them and determined their ability, readiness, and willingness to purchase a home, it's time to close for the appointment. Based on the qualification, you'll vary your follow-up. A buyer, get them in the car immediately. B buyer, identify what needs to happen first, then help them achieve their goal. Put them in your database and on an 8x8 touch campaign based on their interest, and keep in touch. C buyer, manage them electronically by putting them in your database and on an 8x8 and then a 33 touch campaign. Keep yourself top of mind for when they are ready to move forward. If this buyer lead came to you based on the buyer calling in on a certain property and the home happens to be in their price range, make an appointment for them to see the property and have a consultation.
Thank you very much. So back to getting them in the car immediately, and A, you know, if you've already met with them for a breakfast, you've already had that appointment of getting it. But the thing to think about here is when you're going out to show your first home, so you got the appointment, you're now showing them, you're still very much working on building relationship more and more and making people feel fun and comfortable with you and your knowledge, is one of the things that I always say with buyers is, based on the information you've given me to help you find the right home and the perfect home for you, thank you. But when we go out for see the first two, I'm going to take that criteria and put it in the system. But you're going to have the privilege of, you know, and I'm going to have the privilege to listen on the canvas. Paint a canvas, a painting of, you know, what you're looking for. So when we walk in this house or these two homes, you know, let's really talk about all the great things, but let's also talk about the things that you don't like so that I can really serve you better. Any questions, folks? Online? Moving along, let's go to page 28. We can if you need to. Yeah, absolutely. So somebody has asked me to talk about buyer's consultations. So the buyer's consultation is a tremendous opportunity to pave the way to an effective and long-term relationship with buyers. During your meeting with the buyers, your goals are to. Anybody on the line want to read those 1, 2, and 3? Wendy? Okay. So, number 1, delve into the needs, wants, and values of your buyer. Kind of lately I already talked about that, but basically making sure that you understand visually and clearly in detail of what they're looking for. Number 2, showcase your services and educate and set expectations on how you will work together. One of the ways that I and the team work with buyers and sellers is we've designed a book for both buyers and sellers that's chapter by chapter of understanding the process of what's going to happen in detail so that they're not also waiting for you to share. You're going to share what you're doing, but they also have a heads up way prior to that. Anne.
The reason I asked you to go into this, Sean, is I would say from my experience as broker, I would say less than 75% of agents consistently do or have a plan for buyer consultations. They tend to get a call and leap into a vehicle with a buyer. So my point with this is to ask you to actually delve into this a little bit more because it is key to the pre-qualifying and filtering your buyers. If you skip this step and you don't do this step effectively, you are going to chase your tail as a realtor for a very long time.
Thank you, Ann. And let's do that. Let's role play that, Ann. So what we're going to do, and now keep in mind, not every scenario is fixed, but you can obviously pick out what is fixed in this conversation. So I'm the realtor, Ann's the buyer. This should be fun, folks, as I look at her. Okay? So in saying that, the phone rings, and that phone could be ringing because it's a buyer, or that phone could be ringing because it's a referral to call somebody that wants to buy. So when you get the phone call, so the phone just rang, hello, this is Sean Watt.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. How can I help you today?
I'm lost. Are you calling? I'm calling you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were calling. I was reading Shelley's thing and Wendy that she's on the phone getting a referral at the same time.
Okay, so which one would you prefer
I
it to
don't
be?
care. I
Okay.
need to pay attention. Focus.
Okay, focus. So we're going to start over, folks, because of I thought you. So I've got a referral, and I'm going to make the phone call to the buyer. Here we go. Ann wants to stop me already.
Because referral's already a happy buyer. Like they're
Okay.
more like, I think it's too easy. Like,
What would you like?
I think it should be a buyer. You picked up an open house, someone like a buyer, like a.
Okay,
That
so
you really need to pre-qualify because a referral buyer is half pre-qualified.
so you calling me or I'm calling you? Pick.
Well, you've met me at whatever. And
So I'm calling you from an open.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not a buyer. I'm trying to get you as a buyer.
Yes, because that's that's the
Are you
challenge.
ready?
I'm ready.
Great.
Mike, keep away from me.
Ba-ring. Phone's ringing. I just made the phone call. I'm calling Ann De Silva
Can't answer because he has the mic.
because I just met her at an open house with her lovely husband, yada, yada, yada. And here we go. I've purposely allowed a day and a half to go by before calling them to give them time to talk as a family. So the phone's ringing. I say, good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
And this is Sean Watt from the SWAT Real Estate Team. We met on Sunday. I just wanted to call you and follow up with you. And before we get started, I just want to say congratulations that you and your family are looking for a new home. That is awesome.
Well, thank you. That's good.
Well, you know, it really is a privilege to be able to work with people. And, you know, I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. So us at the SWAT team in Keller Williams, we just want to work with people and help them with their needs that have. So you had mentioned that you'd like us to give you a call. So is right now a good time?
Sure.
So what concerns do you have, Ann? Because this is about you and your family, not about us.
Well, we don't even really know where to start. We're kind of
Really? Well, you know what? You're not the only one. I remember when I bought my first home, we were all over the place too. And you know what? It actually cost me a little bit more money because of it, I think, looking back on it. So there's a couple thoughts. What I'd like to do is I'd like to send you a package. It's a buyer's package. It tells you in detail about what's going to happen, how you pick your community, how you feel comfortable working with the SWAT team, because that's very important. And then what I also like to suggest is after you review that, can we set a time, maybe a couple days from now, whatever's good for your schedule, maybe next Tuesday or next Thursday, to meet at such and such a time? Would that work?
I don't really know if we're ready to commit to one particular realtor yet.
Well, you know what? I think that you're thinking outside of the box. I like that. What I'd like you to do, if I could suggest this, is meet with 3 realtors. Because myself and my team, we don't get all the business, but we have invested a lot of time and energy into our systems that we can give you to review, that I'm sure once you take the time to review the systems, because you want to make sure who you're working with, obviously, if you don't know which realtor to choose. Is that correct?
Yes.
So let me send those out to you, those systems, for review. And you know what? If they don't work for you, then so be it. But I think you'll enjoy them. I know our buyers in the past have, and we have testimonies on it. So could I send those to you via courier?
Oh, sure.
So what address would I send that to?
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah is great. Thank you. And, you know, what I'd like to do is you will have those this afternoon via courier. Based on the time, I can still get those to your door. Please review them, and what I'm going to do is give you a call in the morning.
Okay.
Awesome. Look forward to speaking to you in the morning.
Thank you. Yeah, it's totally different than what we do. It's so interesting.
Good. I winged that, by the way.
No, that's good, but everyone's are so different, which I think is so interesting. See, we can do ours. Ours is different. I guess the biggest thing that I would say for anybody is there's a zillion systems. You're going to learn a bunch here in terms of how you do it. Mentor, shadow, ask questions of your peers in the office. But in the end, is that you need to do a buyer consultation, however it is, whatever format it takes. Because if you don't, you're not running with pre-qualified buyers. You're running with leads, and there's a totally different.
What we need to remember, you know, as an example with inside of our own office, anyone that's starting to get to know me and been around me, they realize that I'm still the same person that came in the office in December. But I can honestly tell you that Ann and I treat one another a little differently than the first day we walked in. We had a couple laughs, but you know what you can say to people to make them feel comfortable. And as you're managing to get an appointment, you know, what's the difference between getting an appointment now or the next morning? What's most important is to make them feel at ease that you're a professional, and then to manage second. Because keep in mind, there's a thing called D, I, S, and C. And how I speak to an S is totally different than how I speak to a D, like Troy. Because Troy and I could click that way because we have similar personalities. But we're, you know, Tanya, me, let's say Tanya's an S, which I really don't know what she is just yet, but, you know, I just come over and give her a hug, right, very gently, right? So it's taking those metaphors and really bringing them into your business with the people that you're discerning that you're talking to on the phone, and you have to use your ears, obviously, or in visual, in person. So we've done that. The next day, you call, you get the appointment, and you know what? It's a pretty good chance of your systems that you've prepared that give you them a great idea of how you're going to conduct business, you're going to get the appointment. Not always, but you're going to get the appointment in most cases. Anything else you'd like me to touch base on that?
Buyer? I would ask if people do them. Start with that.
So buyer consultations, what do you do, folks? I'm asking on the internet first. As far as your open houses, are you using your app? Are you giving out your systems in a booklet? There's no right or wrong answer. I can tell you this much. In 10 years of real estate, it's been 2 years since I've been doing it. So this isn't about picking on anybody. It's about making all of us better realtors. Troy.
I don't use the exact same sheet as this one here for the buyer consultation, but literally I just sit there with a clipboard and I ask them all the questions on the sheet that I have, just like it's a job interview. And I think almost all the times I've signed them up.
Awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, I just started doing that recently, to be honest with you. Never had any rejection. I think it makes you appear more professional. They like the fact that you're actually asking them a bunch of questions. And nobody's ever any objections. Where I have wasted my time with people is, like Ann alluded to before, going out and showing them properties, and then I find those people are just a waste of time. Not all the times, but sometimes they can be a waste of time. But yeah.
And you know, Troy's right. They could be a waste of time. I'll use the word he said, but the other word I'll use too is our perception a lot of times is off. And if you don't believe me, just ask my wife. But you know, make sure that your C buyers are everyone, and you manage those accordingly of how you're going to communicate with them. If you feel like they may never buy from you, you do have to make a decision if you really think you're right and not having a database. But if you're not 100% sure, then create a system that, you know, does some touches, not a lot to harass or anything, but certainly keeps you in touch because it makes you the professional that you are. Shelley. Shelley says, at an open house, I provide a buyer's brochure with a summary of my services. That's awesome. What can you tell us about that, Shelley, right off the top of your head? Anything in particular?
Sorry, Sean, I just grabbed the brochure. So I describe inside it a little bit about buyer agency, say a few words about loyalty, obedience, full disclosure, confidentiality, skill and care. I provide a little outline of steps to your new home. I then have a brief breakdown of how much will it really cost. I have a referral or recommendation printed on that brochure, and I have a mission statement which says, my goal is to make the purchase of your home and all associated activities free of stress and easy to understand. I will use all of my experience and knowledge to help you achieve your real estate goals. I will exceed your expectations and provide you with exceptional service throughout our relationship. And then on the back of it is KW Select Realty, my contact information, and that I'm a proud member of CREA and NSAR.
Excellent. As you're reading that, Shelley, I was thinking about what you were saying about your buyer's brochure, and you know what we've been doing as a team. Or I should say my team. I'm out of the equation, but you know, old habits are hard to break in words, right? So anyway, go to page 41 for a second. Shelley and others, we have done similar things, Shelley, in our buyer's chapter that we give each person. And we expand on, you know, the things that happen in the process chapter by chapter. But the thing that we haven't done is, and we have in our open houses verbally brought up and tried to give people the app. Most times it is successful, but not all times. So what I'm suggesting to my team and others is when you're doing it is put that app link in your brochure. Also, top 125 training companies have that. In number of largest brokerage per agent count, have that. They're all comforts or values. So just a thought if you want to do that. Any thoughts? What's Wendy have to say? Would love a copy of your brochure, Shelley. That's excellent. I'll give out a calendar and notepads I use as an awesome company for past several years. Excellent. Well, Lynn, do you mind making a note for me on that? Because there's starting to be a lot, which I'm okay with a lot. I just know me. I'm Ann's brother. So back to page 29. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, but it's all about you, meaning the client, the buyer. Touch base on these topics and think about them. You know, what can you expand on them? What can you do in your practices? Thank you, Ann. You can download these guides off KW as well and customize them. I didn't know that, so thank you very much, Ann. So here's the thoughts. Your needs. You need to deliver the message is it is your needs. It is your dreams. It is your concerns. It is your questions. It is your finance. It is your time. It is your life. Our time we give up because people want to invest in homes, so it becomes their time. How can we help them? Remember, it's about them making them feel excited and truly showing that you care. .31 is the next page I'm going to touch on. When you're making up a buyer's book, if you don't have one made and you're going to make up a package, obviously you're going to put in some of the things that we talked about earlier with the training and that we have that award, we have the largest brokerage. We're going to get into all those things to think of, but when you get into the 6 steps to home buying, choosing a realtor, get that in there. Obtaining financier approval, all those things, put them in there, but expand on them. You know, choosing a realtor, why is it important? You know, you need to have somebody that thinks outside of the box and express that in somehow way in a professional manner. Obtaining financial pre-approvals. Don't allow their minds just to think about their own bank branch. You have an opportunity for referrals for life in many ways. One of the ways is save them thousands of dollars in their mortgage. You can do it, and if you want to know how to do that, come see me personally and I'll certainly share that with you. But you're not a mortgage broker, and nor am I suggesting that, but there's nothing wrong with you having knowledge that you can refer to somebody else that carries that license to make them feel great that they're getting the best product, saving money, and quite honestly, you look like a hero. But that's our job, to protect them. So in closing, on page 31, review those, create a buyer's guide that you're going to use for them. Those are great information to get your mind thinking. Funding a home purchase. One of the things I want to expand on there is 2 things. You know, page 33, sorry folks. Funding a home purchase, qualifying for the mortgage, down payments, closing costs. Well, we all know D-transfer costs varies depending on the area that you're buying in, but let's talk about HRM. We know it's 1.5%. So when I'm talking to buyers, there's 2 things I want to communicate with them. The first thing is it's going to cost you 6.5% with 5% down for your mortgage, 1.5% down for D-transfer tax, and approximately $1,200 for lawyers and legal fees. The other thing I'd like to provide for you is the mortgage broker that I work with and our team works with, or Keller Williams works with, whatever way you want to effectively communicate that on, will provide you with a document showing you right to the penny what it's going to cost you. So review that and think about how you want to manage that. Any questions on making an offer? I'm going to get into making an offer next, which is on page 35, but before I do, is there any immediate questions on making an offer? Obviously, that's a very important conversation.
Hello, Sean.
Hi, Wendy.
This is Wendy. Sean, are you able to provide a brochure itemizing the costs and such? That's something that I would find very beneficial.
Well, here's the thing. With me providing a brochure, I'm now a mortgage broker. What you need to do is come talk to me or talk to your immediate team that you're working with. At the end of the day, you need to... Cost of buying a house.
She's asking septic inspection.
Yes.
Right. Yes, we can provide you with that you can tailor it to your environment, meaning your business or
Yes.
or the, you know, I think you're working with Cecil now, is that correct?
Cheryl, yes.
They may have something too, so just
Yeah,
depending.
You want to have something to provide buyers that outlines expenses because the bankers don't want to.
Yeah. And in that, going back to that buyer's guide book, I purposely said book because it is a book. You need to have, what's the next step? What's it going to cost? What's the things in it? And it's basically, you know, a statement of education and a statement of finances and who you use to do the work.
Just wanted to add, there's a tool you can use in Paragon to actually list out all the expenses that they have, so you give them a net sheet.
That's right, you can. Thanks, Troy. Is that helpful, Wendy?
Where did Troy say that he got his information?
Right from Paragon, there is within your CMA at the very back, there's a sheet that you can add all that information in. But see, the thing is, here's what I want to say, and this is my opinion. As Shelley just said, your favorite mortgage broker, get your mortgage broker to work for you. I'm going to give you an example of something. I have about 15 to 20 days left before I have to be 100% team leader. So I have clients that I met in February before I started this job. And you need to have relationships with realtors, with your mortgage broker, so that you not only can provide great information to people, but you can get them to help in certain things. For example, I'm doing a sales meeting tomorrow morning. My mortgage broker is taking my new buyers out that are 1.3 million for coffee because he hasn't met them yet. So I purposely set that up, and you work with people. But you're talking about actually having a list. Yeah. Right. So my point is, and why Ann thought I was on a tangent, is because when you why not?
They don't count sewer inspections. They don't count professional water taxes. They count 5. They don't, and not all the, well, they don't give real numbers.
Okay, Ann is absolutely right, but here's the thing. There's two parts to that. Your first part is actual expenses from your mortgage to your lawyer costs, which you really should get a mortgage broker to do that for you. The second part of the question would be, yes, as a realtor, you have certain people that you work with.
She's asking for.
Once you know their prices, then you can create a document.
That's what she's asking.
Right.
And it's not to say not to get your mortgage people to help you, but that's not the question. So
right. It's not the question. Now, here's the other thing, Wendy. I have a document made up by the insurance company. The insurer that I use has made up a document that he's actually going to share with KW for anyone that wants it, but it's an actual document of information of what he needs in order to get the cost of the property, which he would share the cost with you. Back to the building inspection person, back to the traditional septic people, we're constantly using those people. And if we're not, as a new realtor, then we need to have a conversation with somebody that is, so that we can actually create a form that has your logos on it or whatever you want on it with the actual costs that you can give people. My recommendation, though, is to have that in that booklet, because when I come back to when Ann and I were having a conversation about appointment, and I was to follow up the next day for the appointment, I was sending over via courier a package. That package was going to have that information in it. Because that's the things that make you shine, is when you think of everything you can possibly think of to make them say, wow, you're organized, then you got a system going. So making an offer. I'd like to step back to when you show your first house before I get into making the offer. One of the things that we do as a SWAT team is when we show our first house, we come prepared to know everything about that house. Now, you could be showing 20 houses, so honestly, I don't have every piece of documentation on every house printed off, yada, yada, yada. But on that first house, I do. Why? I can show them all the value that we have to bring to the table. And then I can tell them, as we go through looking at properties to find the right one for your family, this is the kind of information I'm going to be able to provide for you. You're going to know approximately what's in the mortgage, currently based on the year that it was renewed, and doing some simple math to get a general idea. So as far as negotiating and things like that, right? So take advantage of our resources from Nova Scotia Property Online, Nova Scotia Registered Stocks database, our own MLS system, and really show that initial buyer the things that you have to impress them with. And then tell them that when you start fine-tuning to that 2 properties that you're considering, we're going to do this again. Any questions on that? So when you're making an offer, obviously you're going to do a CMA, but you're going to have all that other information too that's available online. If you have any questions on that, see me on it. Closing 101. Closing is a great opportunity if you've done everything right and you've planned for things and you've educated, it's people what's going to happen at closing. If you share with them stats like, if somebody was to leave a little garbage, we'll get a hold of the lawyer and we'll deal with that. But you know what? In the amount of time I've been in the business, that's only happened to me twice, so I wouldn't be concerned. But here's different things that can happen. And share that with them. In the closing, one of the things I'm going to share with you that I want the SWAT team to implement that we have not done yet, that I was thinking about yesterday, and I was thinking maybe as an entire KW team we could all do this and add value to one another in our closing. Closing gifts. Sometimes you get a bottle of wine and a basket, yada, 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 or whatever it is. Some people buy this or buy that. What if you could still buy a little gift that's $0 to whatever dollars that you decide, but we could all come together and find coupons that we could get from various tradespeople, businesses. So in other words, if you're working with Troy in the office and you both sell a fair amount in Eastern Passage, why not collectively come together and get those extra coupons to help one another out that you can actually put into a closing? One might be literally a free pizza when you move in so that the company continues to use that pizza shop, right? One might be this, one might be that. But open your thoughts to adding more to your closing gift without costing you money. So if you decide, for me, what I do is I always bring pop and sandwiches over. I always deliver them the day of moving. Why? You get to meet everybody that's in the room. Leave a couple of cards, not a lot of cards, 2 cards. They can get the phone number off if they want it or the email. Make it more about them, and then deliver those sandwiches and sweets and water. And it usually costs me about $75 to do that, plus my time. And it's a great way to network and a great way to enjoy the people. And show up in your sneakers too, by the way. Show the other casual side of you. If you're a suit person like me, that's really not who my personality is. That's just most of the time when I'm in. So, that way if you need a little helping hand for a few minutes, you can help out. Those are the things that make you stand out. But that's up to you what you decide to do there. Any questions on that? So in that buyer, next page we're on is page 39. In that buyer's guide, this is something that would be in your buyer's guide that you actually send out to that prospect that's going to be an appointment, that's going to be a client, that's going to be a business friend, and they're going to be really happy with your services. Let them know about you, because it isn't about you, but they do want to know about you. So that when you meet, you can, basically they have a good understanding of you. The second thing is, though, in the about me at the very end, you may want to have questions they may want to ask you. What do they want to know? Some buyers are going to know what to ask you, some are not. So help them out, and if you help them out, going back to the NAR, it's usually they only interview one person, but if they do interview another person, they're probably going to use your questions. And guess what? You've managed that system. Any questions on that? Just reading the TV screen, see what people are saying. So page 41, we've already gone over. Really think about how you can use that, folks. That stuff is wonderful information, and it's stuff that we can use as a catalyst right now. 42, 43 are, as you can see, are scripts. I have mixed feelings about scripts. Here's the right thing I'm supposed to say. Scripts is the way to go. Well, for the most part, I would have to say that I picked a percentage, 80% of me agrees with that, because you do have to stay on track. As you can see, when people teach, we get on tangents of different conversation, which is good, but there still has to be always knowing where you're at. So some things about the scripts are really great. What I really want to impress on, though, is that you use those scripts with your style. You can't be the person who wrote the scripts. You have to be who you are. Excuse me for a second. On page 43, I made a note here, have the class read that script. So let's all read that script. I'm going to have Lynn read it. It's the top one, but follow along with your pen. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Bring the microphone.
We call this agreement our loyalty agreement, where I agree to be loyal to you and take no action detrimental to your best interests. It's a reciprocal agreement in that I ask you to give me your loyalty in exchange for me working nonstop to find you the best home at the lowest price in the least amount of time.
So obviously we're starting to talk about the buyer designated agreement. Is there any questions on the buyer designated agreement? I have a copy here of it. There was certainly one thing I wanted to share in it, but before I do, is there any questions on it? Can I open it up to the internet first? Any questions in the classroom on the buyer designated brokerage agreement? One of the things that and again, you have to respect each person's opinion, but in the buyer designated agreement, Troy has a question. Hopefully I can answer it.
It's not really a question, it's just a comment. There is a typo in there, which I think is kind of wacky when you're presenting a formal document to a client. I have to see the sheet, but
You can tell Lynn does up my buyer designations, Kate. No problem. That's all right, Troy. Troy just made a mistake and was thinking it was a buyer designation agreement that has an error in it. It is not. It's actually our working with the realtor, and you might want to review that and see if there's something in there. So I'm going to ask a question. On the buyer designation agreement, there's no right or wrong answer, but I want to find out what the average is within the room. People on the internet, can you all one at a time tell me what you're averagely charging buyers to work with you as a commission? How about Shelley first, Wendy, Taylor? Wendy, go ahead. What are you generally charging in your buyer's agreement for service?
2.5%.
2.5, is that Shelley?
This Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. 2.5% with Wendy. Shelley, how about yourself?
I say 2.5, but I also make a reference in the block that is given for special provision that in reference to 8.2 and 8.3 that the remuneration that I request is based upon what the MLS listing is as well. So if it's not coming directly from the buyer, then it will be as per an MLS listing to what the seller has agreed to or a fee agreement.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to come back to that, Shelley.
Okay.
Taylor, how about yourself? Taylor might have stepped out. So, Lynn, what do you put in for your buyer designated?
We do 5.5 with 3 going to the, oh wait.
What?
Never mind.
I'm asking you, and when you have a buyer that's your buyer and that it's not coming from me, it's
3%.
Okay. How about yourself, Tanya, when you have a buyer?
2.5.
2.5. Okay. From a brokerage point of view, I know that we, for the most part, want 2.5%. I think things happen once in a while that you have to deliver with based on certain circumstances, or if you're truly servicing your client and there's no money, then you have to help them to the best of your ability and believe that there's another outcome besides just money in this environment. But where I'm going with this is this. In that buyer's agreement, as Shelley said on 8.1 and 8.2, you're giving your buyer an out if you're putting it down to 2.5 or 2.2 or 2%. You're giving them that out, that clause that you're creating, so that if you are charging them up on the top 2.5 or 3%, which quite honestly I do charge 3%, but we're all different. But here's what I want to drive home. I have actually, with the help of my broker, I have written in an amendment, I can't quote the exact words, so don't take these words verbatim, have a conversation with Ann, but I have actually written a clause that due to the buyer designation agreement, sellers to pay 2.5% on closing to the existing brokerage due to the fact of the buyer's agreement in their buyer designated agreement. Because what happens if you're dealing with a 1% or a 2%, it's a way to negotiate that. Now, obviously you're going to be saying to your buyer, that this is not a concern in the sense of reflecting any way of you losing out on the house, because you always have to put the person there, but they have legally signed and they know that they can get as low as whatever the number is you've put in. Do you have any questions on that? It probably is maybe a one-on-one conversation because everybody's different. Okay. Next page we're going to go to is number 7, 46, which is needs analysis. And before we read it, we're going to watch the video, buyer's needs analysis. So here we go. And we're off.
Needs analysis, the systematic process of collecting information about needs, wants, and desires that is used to establish and define goals. Step 2 of the buyer consultation is the needs analysis. Only when you understand what is ultimately important to your customers can you deliver it. Many agents ask their clients, what do you want in a house, and stop there. They don't realize the answer to that question isn't the same as what do you need or what's important to you. Determining your customer's core wants, needs, and values is a process. Draw a line down the middle of a piece of paper and write needs on the left and wants on the right, and use it to track your needs and wants as you go through this process. At this point, you will have a clear understanding of what buyers need versus what they want, but you are not done. Now, you want to drill down and uncover their values by finding out why they need and want what they do. Use this question. What about blank is important to you? Let's see how it works. Say your buyer has told you that they want or need a large yard. You say,
so what's about a large yard that's important to you?
Your buyer says, I like to garden. You ask,
You like gardening, and what's important about gardening?
Your buyer says, I like to spend time outdoors. It helps me relax. You ask,
If you feel relaxed, what's important about being relaxed?
Your buyer says, when I'm relaxed, I can spend more quality time with my wife. Bullseye, a large yard equals family. At this point, you have uncovered a value. You can now look for other ways it applies to your buyer.
A large yard is important because it allows you to spend quality time with your wife, correct? What else about your new home would be important to you in terms of spending more time with your wife?
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. So on page 46, let's just all take a minute to quickly review the needs analysis sheet. If you could just take a moment and read it over yourself, then we'll expand on it and move on. Take another 20 seconds and we'll start back. Okay, so on 46, the page you just read, it's may I ask permission to take notes? So you're at that breakfast meeting, you're in the boardroom at the office, one of the boardrooms. Ask to take notes. Don't just take notes. There's a reason for that. It's a humbling. You're showing that you're professional. You're showing that you care, and you're pausing for that second to build another step in that relationship in a positive way. Hey, this person really wants to help us. I'm going to use an example as, when I'm talking to my wife, or my wife actually is talking to me is a better statement, are you listening to what's being said, and are you expanding on what else? Anything else outside of that? So that you're really becoming a facilitator of the conversation, and you're drawing out things that they really want to share with you anyway. They just need a little bit of assistance. So it's more of a real listening environment and taking the notes. I really recommend, there's a lot of information in this package, and what my commitment to myself and to the team is really to review and see if there's another step, because when you're meeting with somebody, you should have it in your head, the knowledge that you want. You should have a document that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 things you got to do. And then you should have the forms that you fill out so that they are seeing that you're very organized. Any questions on the needs analysis? Go ahead, Troy.
Obviously, I don't think 6 applies to us here in Canada. That's an American issue with regards to the fair housing laws. So you can ask stuff about their family. That's what you want.
Good point, Troy. And again, it's some of it's thinking on your feet, but the best way to think on your feet is really to review what each one of these Ignite chapters has taught you and put them into a system, because whether we want to help 12 people a year or 100 people a year isn't relevant. What's relevant is we all want to help at our very best. Thank you, Troy. I'm going to just touch lightly on 48 and 49, presenting the needs analysis, including the needs analysis. When you review that, you're going to see it's very self-explanatory, but I want to really drive home the message. Know this. What are the 5 things your home must have? There's nothing worse than taking somebody out and not showing them what they're actually, within reason, looking for. You try to make the perfect home for them, but there really is not a perfect home in every way unless you have it built, and then there's probably still going to be a couple little scratches on it somewhere, right? But make sure the top 5 things that's important to them is in there. Because when they walk away, they're going to say, wow, that person was really listening to us. I can see that they really care. I really like Tanya. Here's the thing that we talked about earlier. What's ahead? Whether it's in your buyer's guide or whether it's in the first package that you present to them when you do all your homework, what's ahead? Pictures of the home, home address, current asking price, square footage, all this stuff is in the MLS cut sheet. But as you review down to it, answer any of the questions you may have. It's just a guide, right? Some of it's pretty self-explanatory for anybody that's been in a while, and we've all been in a while. Any questions so far? Well, go ahead, Troy.
What I've started using, I find it's helpful, is the needs and wants. I actually go through the list of everything and I cover some things, and I actually have 2 columns there. Is that a need or is that a want? So if you need it, it's obviously important to must have. If it's a want, then we find it great if we don't.
And needs and wants are great to have, and kind of listen on the wants. What really is the biggest desire of the wants? If you can kind of figure that out from what they're saying. But we're coming close to the end of the teachings, but before I get into a couple of last things, is there any questions? Some of the things in this booklet we have skipped over because of time. We're all adults, but I really encourage you to review them with a pen, scratch it up, transfer it into your own business systems, what you feel is very important for your business. The other thing I encourage you to do is, you know, the various people that were in the session today, do the people online know who was in the session? That's a question. So today there was Ann, Tanya, Troy, Lynn, Shelley, Taylor, Wendy, sitting in. Have a conversation with one another, you know, or if you take some notes on what you've learned, maybe you can all sit down, a couple of you together or all of you, and build that buyer's guide. If you don't have a buyer's guide that you can courier out, you know what? You could build one. You can see myself. We can provide ours as an example. But at the end of the day, those are the things that really help you with people when they're buyers or listings for that matter. Send it, you know, with the listings, we're not talking about that today, but have a listing guide, something that you can send out, you know, that really informs them and makes them feel at peace. Any questions, Shelley? Any questions, Wendy?
I don't have any questions. Oh,
Sean?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Sean?
Yes.
Shelley here.
Hi, Shelley.
I was just recommending that they have a look on the KW website. There's buyer presentations there, the same as there are listing presentations. And also videos that are very helpful in conducting buyer presentations. Diana Kokoska's son does an excellent job with the buyer presentation material.
Sorry, Troy?
Where are they at online?
KW Connect. Who's speaking now?
It's Shelley still. Sean, did they get their mission for 8 to do their homework?
No, that's actually what I'm going to go over here in a minute. I just wanted to kind of get everything done with the actual course, but we're going to do 2 things left to do. We're going to do our AHAs, and we're going to do our mission for number 8.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions, Wendy or Taylor? Shelley, while I have you on the line, do you have any?
No questions.
Shelley, no, I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. If you don't have an AHA, that's okay. But was there any AHA that you got from this morning that you can add to your business that you'd like to share, anybody at all?
I'll share quickly. Going back to the very first video, I really enjoyed that, and I love the you know, the suggestion she made. she met somebody that was pregnant and said, do you need a bigger house now?
Exactly. Thanks, Taylor. None for me. This is all good stuff, Sean, as we said. Wendy, how about yourself? Is there any AHAs that you have? Troy has an AHA.
It wasn't directly on the course schedule, but it was something that you said, if you don't want to show up to someone's birthday party, just send them wine. Thank you.
Manage it. Make it a positive environment, because it's great that you're being invited. Wendy, go ahead.
I do have some ahas. I was really pleased to hear a few brochures that you're using. Shelley using a brochure to extend her services to people and stating exactly what she does. I think that's an awesome idea. I tend to give out notepads and with business cards, magnet business cards. And anyway, I have an excellent company that I get these from. I find that they seem to be a popular thing. But I really like what Shelley's suggestion to add to that with regard to what you do actually have to offer. Lots of ahas. I'm trying to think of what else. Your 100 networking ideas, Sean. I'm looking forward to getting that.
Excellent. So the last thing I'll say is remember the list of different ways of talking to people besides the 150 ways to meet people that you may know already that you're not thinking of. But that list that was down from car accident to networking groups, that'll be in the training room until if you want to review it. If you haven't had the notes on it, then by all means take a look at it. Thank you all for your patience with me. I will say as well before we get into the last part. It's been a while since I've done some training, and I really appreciate your patience with me. And it's been a pleasure to do that for you. Thank you. Moving into next module. Just give me a moment here, folks. Completing the mission for prior to attending a night power session 8. Of course, do your 10-4s, develop your lead generation habits. Underline habit. There's lots of times in my career that I have not done this, but I'll tell you, when you do it, that's really the avenue and recognize the opportunities that happen in the day. You run into somebody and you really enjoyed seeing them, send them a card. Don't necessarily, in my opinion, say when are you buying or selling, but if you had a good connection with somebody in the grocery store that you haven't seen in 6 months, a year, 2 years, figure out a way to touch base with them. If you don't have any way of getting a hold of their address to send them a card, ask them, here's my business card. Can we get reconnected? I don't have a notepad on me right now. I'd love to hear from you, and we go for a coffee and just catch up. And keep it as a catch-up. Write notes. So for the people in the classroom, I'm actually giving out a card today. I'm sure you all have yours. It's the card is to illustrate to you folks to do it. Just do it. Write a card to somebody. How many we're supposed to write each day, but I'm going to give you one. Do that one. And then when you're finished writing that card, just in case somebody hasn't written a card, because I've been guilty of that once or twice in 10 years. Think about how you feel after you wrote the card. Start the process and see how it makes you feel. Anything else I'm missing, Shelley? This part is kind of new to me. Well, folks, it's up on the screen. Go to do your 10-4s, get ready for the power session of 8. And thank you again very much.
Sean, I just wanted to say thank you, and you did a great job.
Thanks, Shelley. Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Anyway, let's go have some fun. And fun means enjoying people and making money in that order. Bye.
Bye, Sean.
Bye.